Princess Lena Sue sat on her crystal throne, her four violet eyes scanning the grand hall of the Solarian palace. The nobles and dignitaries kept a careful distance, none daring to approach too closely. Her skin glowed with soft blue patterns that shifted and swirled across her pale surface, a sign of her calm mood. Those who had seen the red patterns knew better than to provoke her. "Another dull reception," she said to her attendant, Ju, who stood faithfully beside the throne. "Yes, Your Highness," Ju replied, her own two eyes downcast as protocol demanded. "Though the new ambassadors from the Systems Council will be presented shortly." Lena sighed. For 300 years, the Solarian Empire had ruled the 17 star systems with an iron grip. As crown princess and only heir to Emperor Tay, she commanded fear and respect across the galaxy. Her beauty was legendary. Her flowing silver hair reached her waist, and the delicate patterns on her skin were said to be the most complex and beautiful in 10 generations of the royal family. But beauty, in her case, was also a weapon. The last suitor who had attempted to court her, a wealthy mining baron from the Proxima system, had been found drifting in space in only his undergarments, his ship reprogrammed to broadcast his failed romantic poetry across all communication channels. "The Andromean delegation wishes to present their respects, Your Highness," announced the royal herald. Lena waved a four-fingered hand dismissively. "Let them approach." 3 tall, insectoid beings moved forward with practiced caution, their antennae lowered in submission. They presented rare crystals from their home world and retreated without ever looking directly at her. "I grow tired of fear disguised as respect," Lena whispered to Ju. The herald cleared his throat. "Your Highness, the delegation from Earth has arrived." A murmur spread through the court. Earth was a newcomer to interstellar politics, having only developed faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. The small blue planet was considered primitive by most standards, its human inhabitants barely accepted into galactic society. "How curious," Lena said, sitting up straighter. "I didn't know we had established formal relations with Earth." "It was your father's decision, Your Highness. He believes their technology has unexpected potential." The doors opened, and a single human male walked in. Commander Juan Park wore a simple dark blue uniform with only a few medals on his chest, modest by Solarian standards. Where other species sent large delegations with expensive gifts, Earth had sent one man who carried nothing but a small wooden box. Court protocol dictated that new ambassadors approach to the designated spot 20 feet from the throne, bow deeply, and wait to be acknowledged. Park walked to the spot, but looked directly at Lena with clear interest. Then, to the shock of everyone present, he smiled. Gasps echoed through the hall. Guards stepped forward, hands on weapons. Looking directly at a member of the royal family, especially the princess, was considered a grave offense. "Human," Lena said, her skin flashing with brief patterns of warning red. "Do you know the penalty for such familiarity?" Park's smile didn't fade. "No, Your Highness, but I assume you'll tell me before you execute me. On Earth, we look at people when we speak to them. It's considered honest." Instead of the rage everyone expected, Lena's bioluminescent patterns shifted to a curious purple. No one had spoken to her so directly in decades. "You're either very brave or very foolish, Commander Park." "Probably both, Your Highness. My superiors certainly think so." "That's likely why they sent me here." A sound like crystal chimes filled the air. Princess Lena was laughing. The court watched in astonished silence. "What is in your box, human?" she asked. Park stepped forward, another breach of protocol, and opened the wooden container. Inside was a small blue flower. "A forget-me-not from Earth. Nothing valuable or rare by your standards, but it's genuine, unlike most gifts you probably receive." The guards looked to Lena for orders, expecting her to have this impudent human removed. Instead, she rose from her throne and descended the crystal steps, something she rarely did for any ambassador. "You risked bringing a living organism to present to me. It could die in our atmosphere." "It might," Park admitted. "But real things are worth the risk." Lena took the box, studying the small blue flower. "You understand this could be interpreted as an insult. Other ambassadors bring rare metals and precious stones. I'm not other ambassadors, and Earth isn't like other worlds. We don't have much to offer except our perspective." Their eyes met again, his two brown eyes looking steadily into her four violet ones. "You'll attend the diplomatic reception tomorrow," she said. It wasn't a question. "I look forward to it, Your Highness." As Commander Park bowed and left the hall, whispers erupted among the court. No one had ever seen the princess show interest in any ambassador, let alone a human one. "Jew," Lena said quietly as she returned to her throne, the box with the small blue flowers still in her hands. "Find out everything about Earth's Commander Park." "Yes, Your Highness." "Do you wish him to be dealt with?" Lena watched the doors through which the human had departed, a small smile playing on her lips, her skin glowing with a new pattern no one at court had ever seen before. "No," she said. "I believe the diplomatic corps just became much more interesting." Commander Juan Park stood at the window of his small embassy quarters, looking out at the three moons that hung in the purple Solarian sky. His room was simple compared to the lavish apartments given to other ambassadors. Earth was new to the galactic stage, and luxury was not part of the package. "Commander, your formal attire has arrived," said Kim, his assistant, placing a box on the table. The Solarian Protocol Office sent it with instructions. Park opened the box to find elaborate robes with at least 6 layers and what appeared to be a stiff collar that would reach above his ears. "Is this a joke?" he asked, holding up the complicated garment. "It's traditional diplomatic wear for tonight's reception," Kim explained nervously. "The note says failure to dress appropriately would be disrespectful." Park smiled and closed the box. "I'll wear my dress uniform. Earth's representatives should look like they're from Earth." Kim looked horrified. "But Commander, the princess already thinks we're strange," Park finished. "Let's not disappoint her by suddenly pretending to be something we're not." 2 hours later, Park walked into the Grand Hall wearing his simple dark blue Earth uniform with silver trim. Every other diplomat wore the traditional Solarian formal attire in various colors denoting their star systems. The crowd parted as he entered, whispers following in his wake. "The human is either very brave or completely mad," a tall blue-skinned diplomat murmured. "Both, probably," his companion replied. "Did you hear about yesterday?" He looked directly at the princess and smiled. Park ignored the whispers and accepted a glass of luminescent blue liquid from a server. He sipped it cautiously, finding it tasted like spiced honey. Across the room, Princess Lena Su made her entrance. Her silver hair was arranged in an intricate style atop her head, adorned with crystals that caught the light. Her skin glowed with gentle patterns of blue and gold, and her 4 violet eyes surveyed the room regally. She wore flowing robes of a material that seemed to capture and release light with each movement. The entire assembly bowed deeply. Park gave a respectful but brief bow, the kind he would give to a president or prime minister on Earth. The princess noticed immediately. Her eyes locked with his, and she tilted her head slightly in what might have been amusement or annoyance. Then, to everyone's surprise, she began moving directly toward him. Diplomats scattered from her path, staring in disbelief as she approached the human. "Commander Park," she said, her voice musical and clear. "You seem determined to ignore our protocols." "Not ignore, Your Highness," he replied with a small smile. "Simply balance them with my own." "And what protocols would those be?" she asked, accepting a glass from a nervous server who nearly dropped the tray. "Honesty, directness, being true to who I am, and where I come from." The princess studied him curiously. "Most find it advantageous to adapt to our ways." "With respect, Your Highness, Earth doesn't seek advantage. We seek understanding." Around them, the entire reception had gone silent. All eyes and sensory appendages focused on this unprecedented conversation. "You're wearing your own uniform," she observed. Yes, it represents Earth and our values. And what are Earth's values, Commander Park? Curiosity, resilience, the belief that different doesn't mean better or worse, just different. Lena's skin flickered with patterns of purple and gold, colors Park couldn't interpret. She took a step closer to him, close enough that protocol officers at the edges of the room looked ready to faint. "You brought me a flower yesterday," she said. "A simple thing that might die in our atmosphere." "Has it?" he asked. "No, it thrives in my quarters. Our scientists are quite puzzled." Park smiled. Sometimes simple things are more adaptable than they appear. "Like humans?" she asked with what might have been a smile. "Exactly like humans." The princess gestured to a side door. "Walk with me, Commander. I find myself curious about Earth." Gasps echoed through the hall. The princess never invited private conversations, especially not with newly arrived ambassadors from minor worlds. They walked onto a balcony overlooking the capital city, its crystal towers glowing in the moonlight. "You should know," she said once they were alone, "that your directness has made you enemies already." The Proxima ambassador is particularly offended. "Because I was given a moment of your time?" Park asked. "Because you didn't fear asking for it," she replied. "Fear is the currency of the Empire, Commander. Everyone fears something or someone." "What do you fear, Your Highness?" The question was bold, perhaps even dangerous. Lena's luminescent patterns pulsed once, brightly. "No one has asked me that in a century." She turned to look at the city below. "I fear that fear is all I have, that I will rule an empire bound together by nothing else." "There are stronger bonds than fear," Park said quietly. "Like what?" "Respect, cooperation, even friendship." Lena laughed, the sound like crystal chimes. "Friendship? With me? Now I know you're either very brave or very foolish." "I told you before, probably both." Park smiled. "On Earth, we have a saying. The best diplomacy happens when people forget they're being diplomatic." "Interesting philosophy," she said. "Unfortunately, Commander, in the Solarian Empire, forgetting protocol can be fatal. Yet here we are, having a real conversation," he noted. The princess studied him with all four violet eyes. "Yes, here we are." She turned to leave, then paused. "The Imperial Garden Tour is tomorrow. Most find it tediously formal." "I enjoy gardens," Park replied. "Good. Perhaps you can tell me more about Earth's unusual values." With that, she returned to the reception, leaving Park alone on the balcony. Back inside, the other diplomats stared at him with a mixture of envy, suspicion, and disbelief. The Proxima ambassador, a tall being with scaled skin, approached him. "You walk a dangerous path, human," he hissed. "The princess is not to be trifled with." "I'm not trifling," Park replied calmly. "I'm just being human." As he sipped his drink, Park knew his unorthodox approach was working, though whether it would lead to diplomatic success or his own spectacular failure remained to be seen. The Imperial Gardens stretched for miles around the palace, each section representing a different world in the Solarian Empire. Commander Park walked beside Princess Lena, maintaining a respectful distance as they followed a path made of shimmering blue stones. "This section contains plants from Proxima," Lena explained, gesturing to strange, twisted trees with glowing red fruits. "They require special atmospheric controls to survive here." Park noticed that despite the formal occasion, they were relatively alone. Royal guards kept their distance, and the other diplomats who had been invited to the garden tour had mysteriously been directed to a different section. "Your Highness," Park said, "I get the feeling this isn't the standard tour." Lena's skin flickered with amusement. "Perceptive. I wanted to speak with you without an audience of gossips and schemers." They rounded a corner and came upon a clearing with a small pavilion. Inside was a table with a strange board that appeared to float above its surface. Tiny lights of different colors hovered above the board. "Do you play games, Commander?" Lena asked as she gracefully sat at one side of the table. I enjoy chess, Park replied, taking the seat across from her. This is Kallax, she explained. It's considered the highest test of strategic thinking in the Empire. Most non-Solarians find it challenging. Park studied the three-dimensional board with its hovering pieces. It looks complicated. It was designed to be. The game has existed for 12,000 years. Some say it's impossible to master in a single lifetime. Her four violet eyes watched him carefully. Would you like to try? Park smiled. I'd be honored to lose to you, Your Highness. Something like surprise flickered across Lena's features. Most diplomats refuse to play, fearing that losing would damage their standing. On Earth, we believe you learn more from losing than winning, Park said. And I'm here to learn. Lena began explaining the rules. The game involved pieces that represented different cosmic forces, stars, planets, gravity wells, and cosmic storms. Each piece moved according to complex rules that interacted with the others. The goal was to create a stable solar system while destabilizing your opponents. As they played, Park quickly realized he was hopelessly outmatched. The princess moved her pieces with casual confidence, creating beautiful patterns that somehow also devastated his strategy. Within 20 minutes, his last piece, the home world, was caught in a collapsing gravity well. You've lost, Commander, Lena said, her tone neutral. Park studied the board, then laughed genuinely. Magnificently so. That was the most elegant defeat I've ever experienced. Lena tilted her head, her luminescence shifting to curious purple patterns. You find losing amusing. I find learning amusing. And I just learned a lot about how you think, Park replied. Would you honor me with another game? I promise to last at least 5 minutes longer. For the first time, Lena smiled openly, a sight so rare that the distant guards exchanged glances of shock. You are a strange diplomat, Commander Park. They reset the board and played again. This time, Park lasted 30 minutes before his pieces were scattered across the game space. Again, he took the defeat with good humor and requested another match. By the third game, the sun had begun to set, casting long shadows across the garden. Park studied the board more carefully, beginning to see patterns in the princess's strategy. Why do you not fear me? Lena asked suddenly as she contemplated her next move. Should I? Park kept his eyes on the game board. Everyone else does. Fear is useful when there's real danger, Park replied thoughtfully. But it gets in the way of understanding. I respect you, which is better than fear. Explain the difference, she commanded, moving a star piece that immediately began pulling his planets out of alignment. Fear is about what someone might do to you. Respect is about who they are. Park countered with a move that temporarily stabilized his system. I respect your intelligence, your position, your responsibility to your empire. Those things deserve respect, not fear. Lena's skin glowed with a new pattern, soft waves of blue that no one at court had seen before. She seemed about to respond when a royal guard approached and bowed deeply. Your Highness, the Emperor requests your presence immediately. There has been an incident at the borders. The princess rose immediately, her expression shifting to one of concern. We must continue this another time, Commander. Of course, Your Highness. Thank you for the lessons in defeat. As Lena turned to leave, she paused. Tomorrow, the small reception hall. We will continue our game. It wasn't a question or invitation, but a statement of fact. I look forward to it, Park replied with a bow. After the princess departed, her attendant Jew approached Park with a look of confusion. The princess has never invited anyone to a private Kallax match, she said quietly, let alone a second or third time. Perhaps she enjoys having a new opponent, Park suggested. Jew shook her head. You don't understand. Princess Lena doesn't play games she might lose. Yet today, during your third match, she made a move that wasn't optimal. She tested you. And did I pass? Park asked. I don't know, Jew replied honestly. But the color patterns on her skin, I've never seen them before. The royal physicians have been consulted. Park looked concerned. Is she ill? No, Ju said, studying the human with new interest. The patterns appeared when you spoke of respect rather than fear. The physicians believe it may be an emotional response not seen in the royal family for generations. As Park walked back to his quarters, he considered this information carefully. He had come to represent Earth's interests, to establish diplomatic relations with a powerful empire. He hadn't expected to find himself in a different kind of game altogether, one where the rules were unknown, and the stakes possibly much higher than a simple diplomatic posting. That night, a package arrived at his quarters, a Kallax set, smaller than the one in the garden but made of material so precious that Kim gasped when she saw it. The note attached simply read, "Practice." The alarm sounded throughout the palace, its crystal tones signaling an emergency at the highest level. Commander Park was in the embassy communications room when the transmission came through. All diplomatic personnel are to remain in their quarters until further notice, announced the palace guard captain over the emergency channel. The capital is under security lockdown. Kim rushed into the room, her face pale. "Commander, there are reports of an attack on the Emperor's ship. The Draconid Confederacy has broken the peace treaty." Park frowned. The Draconids were a powerful species from beyond the edge of the Empire, reptilian beings known for their aggressive expansion. The peace had been tense, but holding for nearly 50 years. "Get me any information you can," Park ordered, "and prepare our ship for possible evacuation." Before Kim could respond, a private communication alert chimed, on the secure channel that only the princess had access to. "Commander Park," Lena's voice came through, tense and formal. "Your presence is requested at the War Council immediately." 20 minutes later, Park entered a large chamber deep within the palace. Military leaders from across the empire stood around a three-dimensional display showing the movement of fleets. The princess sat at the head of the table, her skin pulsing with angry red patterns. All eyes turned to Park as he entered. The only human and the only non-military leader in the room. "Why is he here?" demanded General Taiho, a stern Solarian with facial markings indicating his high rank. "This is not a matter for Earth." "Commander Park is here at my request," Lena said sharply. "The situation affects all worlds within our sphere, including Earth." She gestured Park to a seat near her. "The Draconids launched a surprise attack on my father's diplomatic convoy. The Emperor is injured but alive. He is being transported back to the capital under heavy guard." The display showed a red cluster of ships moving toward the Imperial Center. "They have deployed their main battle fleet," General Taiho explained. "Their trajectory indicates they plan to strike directly at the capital while the Emperor is vulnerable." "And with the Emperor incapacitated," added an older advisor, "the succession protocols have been automatically initiated." Park noticed the tension that rippled through the room at these words. Lena's luminescent patterns shifted to a deeper red. "What does that mean?" Park asked quietly. The advisor looked uncomfortable. "By ancient law, Princess Lena must take a consort before assuming the throne. It was designed to ensure stability during transition periods." "This law is outdated and irrelevant," Lena snapped. "The Empire needs leadership, not a marriage ceremony." "Nevertheless, Your Highness, it is the law," the advisor insisted. "Already, 6 noble houses have presented their sons as candidates, each promising military support against the Draconids in exchange for the honor." Park watched as Lena's 4 eyes narrowed dangerously. "I will not be bartered for warships." The meeting continued, with military strategies being discussed and rejected. The Draconid fleet was powerful, their weapons technologies advanced. The Empire's forces were spread across 17 systems, and recalling them would take time they didn't have. As the generals argued, Park studied the star map closely. He noticed something the others had missed, a pattern in the Draconid fleet movement. "May I speak?" he asked, interrupting a heated debate. General Taiho scowled. What could Earth possibly contribute to this discussion? "A different perspective," Park replied calmly, standing up. He pointed to the display. The Draconid fleet is moving in a specific formation. Look at the spacing between their ships. It's not a standard attack pattern. The room fell silent as military leaders studied the display. They're creating a gravity wave, Park continued. See how their ships are positioned to amplify the effect. It's similar to a technique we developed on Earth for deep space propulsion. Lena leaned forward. What does this mean? They're not just planning an attack. They're creating a path for something else, Park explained. Something big that needs the gravity assistance to travel quickly. General Tejo's expression changed from dismissal to concern. A supercapital ship? They don't have that technology. Unless they've been hiding it, Park suggested, waiting for the right moment. The meeting shifted focus, with Park's observation leading to new defensive strategies. As the council continued, nobles from various systems arrived at the palace, each bringing offers of military support, along with their sons as potential consorts for the princess. Later that evening, Park found himself summoned to the princess's private study. Lena stood by the window, looking out at the defense ships now visible in the night sky. "You saw what our military experts missed," she said without turning around. "Sometimes an outsider sees patterns that others miss," Park replied. "Is that why you've continued our Kalex games despite losing each time?" There was a hint of amusement in her voice. "I learn more from each loss." Park moved to stand beside her, looking up at the ships. "How is your father?" "Still unconscious. The healers say he will recover, but it will take time." Lena turned to face Park. "Time we don't have." Her skin glowed with troubled patterns of blue and purple. 6 noble houses have presented their sons as potential consorts. Each comes with promises of warships and troops. "And none of them see you," Park said quietly. Lena looked at him sharply. "What do you mean?" "They see a throne, an alliance, a conquest. Not you." Lena's luminescence flickered with surprise. "How could you know that?" "Because you told me, in a way. During our games, you play to win, but you also play for the beauty of the strategy. You value both power and elegance." Park smiled slightly. "I pay attention." For a moment, they stood in silence. Then an alarm sounded. A different tone from before, more urgent. "The Emperor's medical ship is under attack," Lena said, her voice tight with concern. "They've broken through our outer defenses." "Your Highness," Park said seriously, "Earth has a small fleet stationed near the Centauri waypoint. They're equipped with stealth technology the Draconids haven't encountered before." "Why would Earth help us?" Lena asked. "Because that's what allies do," Park replied simply. "And because I'm asking." Lena studied him with all 4 eyes, then nodded once. "Make your call, Commander." As Park moved to the communication panel, the future of 2 civilizations hung in the balance, and perhaps something more personal as well. The grand hall of the Solarian Palace was filled to capacity. Nobles from all 17 star systems stood in their ceremonial places, their formal attire creating a sea of colors and textures. The Draconid attack had been repelled 3 days ago, and now the Empire had gathered for what everyone believed would be a royal betrothal. Emperor Ta had recovered enough to sit on his throne, though his movements were slow and careful. Beside him, Princess Lena stood in royal regalia, her silver hair adorned with the crown of the heir apparent. Her skin glowed with steady, confident patterns of blue and gold. Commander Park stood with the other diplomatic representatives, his Earth uniform now adorned with a special medal the Emperor had insisted on bestowing upon him. The Earth fleet's unexpected intervention had saved the Emperor's medical ship and turned the tide of battle. Their stealth technology had confused the Draconid sensors long enough for the Imperial forces to regroup and launch a devastating counterattack. "Noble houses of the Solarian Empire," the Imperial Herald announced. "His Imperial Majesty will now hear the final petitions for the hand of Princess Lena Su, heir to the throne." One by one, representatives from 6 noble houses stepped forward. Each presented their candidate, sons of powerful families, all promising military might, economic advantages, or political alliances. The princess watched with an unreadable expression as gifts and pledges were laid before the throne. When the last noble had finished, Emperor Tad looked to his daughter. "The time has come, according to our ancient laws, for you to select a consort before taking the throne." The hall fell silent. Everyone knew the princess had shown no favor to any of the candidates despite the pressure of tradition. Lena stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "Honored father, noble houses of the empire, I have made my decision." A murmur of anticipation swept through the crowd. "Before I name my choice," she continued, "I wish to announce a change to our succession law. As heir and future empress, it is within my right to modify traditions that no longer serve our people." Gasps and whispers filled the hall. Such a thing had never been done before. "The law requiring me to take a consort before ascending the throne will be changed," Lena declared. "Future heirs will choose their partners based on merit and compatibility, not political necessity or ancient customs." The emperor looked surprised but nodded slowly, giving his approval. "However," Lena said, raising her hand to quiet the growing whispers, "I have indeed chosen a consort, not because law requires it, but because I desire it." She turned and looked directly at the diplomatic section. "Commander Juan Park of Earth, step forward." The hall erupted in shocked exclamations. Park stood frozen for a moment, as surprised as everyone else. Then, with calm dignity, he walked to the center of the hall and bowed to the throne. "Commander Park," Lena said, loud enough for all to hear, "you never pursued me. You never feared me. When everyone else saw a princess, a political alliance, or a path to power, you saw me." "I still do," Park replied simply. General Tejo stepped forward, his face flushed with anger. "Your Highness, this is unprecedented. A human, from a minor world with no significant standing in the empire. A human who saw what your military experts missed." The emperor spoke, his voice weak but firm. "A human whose quick thinking and Earth's fleet saved my life. Is that not significant enough, General?" Lena descended the steps from the throne, approaching Park. "The empire needs new perspectives, new ways of thinking. The old ways nearly led us to defeat." Her luminescence glowed with patterns no one had ever seen before, bright, joyful colors that shifted and danced across her skin. "Do you accept this position, Commander Park?" she asked. Park looked directly into her four violet eyes. "I accept, Your Highness, not for power or position, but for the person I've come to know through games of Kallax and conversations about respect rather than fear." Lena extended her hand, and Park took it. Another break with protocol that caused the protocol officers to wince visibly. "The union will be formalized in 7 days," the emperor announced, ending further debate. "Let preparations begin immediately." As the court slowly dispersed, still buzzing with shock and speculation, Lena led Park to a private antechamber where they could speak away from the curious eyes of the court. "You didn't warn me," Park said with a smile. "Would you have agreed if I had?" she asked. "Yes," he replied honestly, "but I appreciate that you made it a choice, not a political arrangement." Lena's luminescence rippled with amusement. "The noble houses will take time to accept this. There will be resistance." "Change always faces resistance," Park said. "On Earth, we have a saying, the most meaningful paths are rarely the easiest ones." "A wise saying," Lena agreed. She moved to the window, looking out at the capital city. "Together, we can bring new ideas to the empire. Your human perspective, and my Solarian traditions. A balanced system," Park said, using Kallax terminology, "stable yet dynamic." In the following weeks, as news of the unprecedented union spread across the 17 systems, predictions of disaster abounded. Traditionalists protested, military leaders worried about human influence, and cultural experts forecast a failed marriage. Yet, as Park and Lena worked together, he bringing human adaptability and creative problem-solving, she with Solarian wisdom and tradition, something unexpected happened. The rigid hierarchies that had defined the empire for centuries began to loosen. New diplomatic channels opened with previously hostile species. Innovation flourished where conformity had once ruled. And occasionally, in rare private moments away from imperial duties, Lena would confess the truth that had changed everything. In a universe where everyone either feared me or wanted to possess me, you were the only one brave enough to simply know me. Park would smile in that direct human way. That wasn't bravery, he would say. That was just being human.